Good morning, boys and girls. Uh, Going along in our introductory book series, this is a beautiful little text. Very, very short and sweet, much shorter than it looks because a lot of this is notes. But it's by Ibn Arabi. Now, and there are some disputes among academics and scholastics about who the author is, but as far as I'm concerned, it's el-Arabi. Now, in this short, sweet little text, in a very Sufic manner, he describes in very, very poetic language many things. And it's reminiscent of some of the Christian saints because a lot of it I think is in the first person. But let me read you the foreword, just the foreword, because it tells you who the book is for. And I should say that it's a non-dual understanding, from the get-go. So it's only appropriate for those folks. And so I suppose it's introductory for those people that have already kind of gotten to non-dual understandings of the way things are, even though that's a very vague designation. So here's the foreword. We are speaking with those who have determination and energy in seeking knowledge of their self in order to know God, and who keep fresh in their heart the image of their seeking and longing for union with God. So if that's you, then I recommend this book. El-Arabi is one of a whole line of Sufi saints and mystics and scholars and poets and mathematicians and physicians and so on and so forth. This is a very, very beautiful book. It's a treasure for the world. And it's very short for the impatient. I'll just read a little excerpt. If someone asks, what is the way to knowledge of the self and knowledge of God? The answer is, it consists in being aware that God is, and nothing is with him, and he is now as he always has been. So the permanent and the timeless in the midst of the impermanent in time. Okay, sir. What have you learned?
What have I learned? I have learned two things.
Good.
I think, one of them is my mind keeps saying that whatever I'm doing right now, the Dharma work, will not work. And I can't live a life.
Okay, so whatever you're doing right now will not work. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Good.
And I can't live a life without my mind, because without its guidance, I will fail.
Okay.
And
well, you can live a better life without that mind telling you that, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Saying that
yes,
it will not
so
work, saying that it will not work is your mind being obnoxious and incorrect. And just for the hell of it, just throwing things up in your way. Just to slow you down and to frankly, that's what I mean by the mind is a pile of garbage. Saying that it won't work is not true.
That's the thing that I noticed as well. Like, it posts a lot of problems and it says that I can't live without this mind because
well, that's a separate
these problems
proposition.
will come at me.
That's a separate proposition. Okay, so we have two parts to what you say you've learned. One is that your mind tells you that this will not work. Is that correct?
Yes, or more specifically, it says I can't live without it.
Well, that's a totally different thing. You can't live without your mind.
Because it says that, because it believes if I go ahead with my dharma work, it will be dissolved. Like it's
No, your mind won't
maybe
be
this is
dissolved.
something
Your
that.
mind won't be dissolved. Your ego will be dissolved. Okay, so let's go to some basics here. Are you worried that this Dharma work tells you that you have to drop your mind, that you can't use your mind, that your mind can't be utilized, or it needs to be overcome and destroyed?
Okay, now I need to go back to definition. What's the difference between a mind and an ego here?
Oh, there's a complete world of difference. It's very important, so I'm glad you brought it up. An ego is a thought or a constellation of thoughts within a mind. It's a selfish, self-absorbed, self-important, greedy, vain constellation of thoughts that within your mind.
Okay, you
So,
say it as a
so
within
let's
a
say this
mind.
is a hand, right? This is a
Yeah.
hand. This is a fist. This is a finger. A finger is not a hand. This is not a hand. Right? That's a finger. It's part
Yeah.
of what makes up a hand. Okay? Now, no one's asking
So
you to get
I
rid of a finger. They're just saying put it in its place relative to the rest of the hand. So if all you do is focus on one finger, your hand doesn't work properly. You know, you can't pick anything up. You can pick something up, but it's hard, you know. If all you got is one finger, that's hard. But if you use the whole hand
notice.
properly, you use the finger and the hand all properly, right? The ego
So
is
a
like, and this
question.
is an analogy, and it's crude because I just had to invent it, but it's like no one's asking you to lose your finger. What someone's asking you to do, what the way is asking you to do, is to put it in proper perspective. It's only one finger on a hand of four fingers and a thumb and a palm and a dorsum. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
So my question here is, with that analogy, what are all these other fingers other than ego?
Okay, we have
That means there
memories.
is something outside.
We have fantasies of the future. We have ambitions. We have a concern for others. We have, you know, curiosity. I have a bunch of them. It's not five fingers. It's more like a hundred fingers, 1,000 fingers.
But aren't some of them related to ego itself?
Yes, they are.
Like
They
the
like this
future,
finger.
the
This
ambition.
finger is related to the other three, and it's part of the hand. It's definitely related. Did somebody tell you you have to chop off your finger, or get rid of your
No.
ego?
Getting rid of ego itself will lead to another formation of another ego, an
Okay,
ego
so
that wants to
another
destroy
word for
that ego.
ego is the I,
Yeah.
the letter I. That's another word for ego right there, I.
Yeah.
So that I is is a convention. You've had it since you were like a year and a half, or maybe even a bit before that. I don't know. Maybe a bit afterwards, but you acquired that I later in life when you differentiated yourself from the rest of the world. So now let's go back to the thing. So the thing about it won't work is referring to your, this whole thing won't work because if you get rid of your ego, you won't be able to function in the world.
Yes.
No, you'll be able to function perfectly. Actually, you'll function better. Don't worry,
Yeah, that's what I
you got a
arrived at
driver's
sometimes.
license or an ID card or a passport or something. I wouldn't worry about losing your ego yourself.
No, that's something that even kind of I arrived at, in the sense that the problems that it was trying to solve or guide me through are the problems that it itself created. If it doesn't
Very
exist, then
excellent
those problems
observation.
don't exist at all in the
Very
first place.
very good observation. Can you give an example?
Example would be, I don't know whether this is correct or not. So it says that if I don't go up the corporate ladder, then
Hmm.
people will stop hiring me, as they will see me as someone who is not working hard and thus not getting promoted. Thus, I'll eventually be destitute without a job and die horribly. Like, I do kind of believe it, at least, but it's not because I'm not hardworking or anything. But in addition to that, this assumes a lot of things. One, I can't have any other source of income other than corporate job. Second, I don't and can't develop other skills that would make me employable. And third, I can't live a life without the luxuries I have. All of these problems are created by the mind in the first place that is trying to solve it. That is trying to say that if it doesn't exist, then I can't go up the corporate ladder at all.
Okay, so what's the problem?
Problem is, it's stopping me sometimes. There are other conflicting
Stopping you
beliefs
from
that
doing
says
what? Stopping you from doing what?
being ambitious or going more, like going up that corporate ladder, or sometimes saying that I can't go up the
So you
corporate
want
ladder at all.
lessons on how to be more ambitious?
Yeah,
Okay, well
without.
that's you got to take up with a coach or something, with a coach or a, I don't know, a corporate guy or something like that.
But that's the
Because in
thing.
this
I
work,
don't want to.
one is content to do quietly what one does, and now that may be that you'll go up the corporate ladder. But why do you want to go up the corporate ladder? So you can make more money, or because you want more power, or
Yeah,
because you think that the guys up higher are happier, or what's the deal?
because I think guys are happier,
All right, well
and
that's false. So yeah, first get
or
rid of
at least very
ignorance.
safely
First get
so.
rid of ignorance, right?
Yeah.
Happiness has nothing to do with what your position is on the corporate ladder. I remember, as maybe this will help you if you keep it in memory. I was an expert witness much of my adult life, and so I would be they would hire me at these big expensive law firms because they were going to battle some other big expensive law firm over, say, a patent dispute or something like that. And so, being an expert witness, I was not at the top of the food. The attorneys I worked with were not at the top of the food chain. I mean, they weren't the partners. They weren't the guys that owned the law firm. And but I also wasn't part of the law firm because those are lawyers and I'm a doctor, so on and so forth. So at any rate, late at night, I would knock off. I mean, I would just say, I'm not going to work anymore, even though they're paying me some outrageous amount per hour. Those attorneys know how to pay themselves. At any rate, so I went up to the top of this luxury hotel, and there in the at the bar was the owner of the whole shebang, the guy who owned the law firm. It was a big law firm, and we got to talking, and this guy was miserable, and he felt bad because he knew that at the top of this hierarchy was nothing. I mean, the guy was wealthy, that's true, but he was just miserable with his life. His life didn't mean anything. It was just a matter of shuffling things around so he could make more money, right? And he's taking money from his clients, so there's a limit, or one would hope there's a limit to how much money he can extract from these corporations. But he was good at it and very, very wealthy. But he was a miserable man, and he knew it. And he, talked to me like I was a shrink, even though we were, having a beer or something. But asking, it was just really sad. And he knew that he was selling a bill of goods to his partner. I mean, to the people that are coming up the ladder, right? So if you're looking for happiness, do not think you're going to find that at the top of a corporate hierarchy. That's just not the way it goes.
Actually, not just happiness, it was more about safety as well. Safety or security.
There is no
don't care
safety
about
or
power.
security on this earth. Now, you can position yourself to where you've got health care, you've got a solid roof over your head, you've got people that love you and that you love, and you can do your best to acquire that for yourself. But even then, there is no safety. That you can forget. And so if you think that let's say a guy who lays bricks, who's safer, a guy who lays bricks or a guy who's in-house counsel? For a large corporation, who's safer? It's about the same. It's about the same. No one's going to rob the bricklayer because they think he's got a fat wallet. No one's going to break into his house to try and steal his art. He's just an ordinary guy, so he's got some security just in being nobody. But if you're very wealthy and you're going around, maybe it's not a problem in India, but it's a problem in Latin America, South America, and Mexico. If you're really wealthy, you're much less secure. You get kidnapped or robbed, or someone in your family, same thing. So if you're looking for security, you're looking for it in the wrong place. And beyond a certain amount of security, you don't have that power, my friend. That's up to things larger than yourself, your ego. Now, you can prepare yourself for whatever happens, but that would be acquiring wisdom. Are you following me?
Prepare.
So if you think that if you climb the corporate hierarchy, you'll be happy and satisfied, then you just need to grow up some more, that's all. And you need to look at the data and start thinking for yourself. Now, if you are driven for that, then that's a totally different thing. Then that's you, right? If you're the kind of person that really wants to, or you're a founder of a startup, or you want to be your own man, or you want to be, do something creative on your own or something like that. Or even if you want to, if you really adore corporations for God knows what reason, and you just want to, that's where you want to live, that's your aspiration as a human being, then that's a different story too. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But trying to force your way into that if your heart's not in it, that's not a bug.
Yeah, that's not at that time, this won't be a problem at all, to be honest.
Okay, good.
And I'm driven for that case.
Yeah. If you're going to have ambition for something that's going to bring you some joy, some peace, some happiness, and and if that so happens to be climbing up the corporate wall, then yeah, do it. But if not, don't try and force it because you think that those guys are happy. They're not. Let me tell you, they're not. The rates of alcoholism are just horrific, for example. Now, does that mean all of them are miserable? No. Just most of them.
Okay. So
I shouldn't make fun of my brethren in corporate America, corporations. Go ahead. And I was incorporated. That's how I can speak with authority. I know. I've been in them. Not for very long, though. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so I had something a bit different, but it's related to security itself.
Okay.
So the question is, like for the past few weeks, sometimes I observe some abnormal behavior in my body and I get afraid. Simply, I imagine a painful future and then I say that I can't do anything about it. For example, 2 years ago, I checked my A1C levels and it was around lower end of the pre-diabetic range. And few weeks ago, I had my blood pressure measured as well. So it came out high. But the thing is, few months ago, it was within normal range. Both of these essentially led to a torrent of thoughts about how my future will be painful. There will be partial blindness. There will be tiredness because of medication. And the most important part, I can't do anything about it. And the reason why I can't do anything about it, there is a belief that says, even though I have lost 20 lbs, 20 pounds in those 2 years,
Good
my
for
body
you.
is still the same.
Good for you.
My body is still the same,
No, it's
or
not.
situation may have become worse. And if it is the same,
Your
or
body's
have
not the
become
same if
worse,
you've lost 20 pounds. How can you say that?
I don't know, but A1C may be still same. I haven't checked it, and that's the reason why I haven't checked
Okay.
it, because I don't want to check it and realize nothing has changed.
All
And
right.
if I realize nothing has changed, then that's helplessness, and like I can't do anything.
Just the way you like it. All right. Let's go through it. Well, the easy part is I'm not a doctor. I'm not practicing medicine. Okay, so that's the important caveat.
Yeah.
But what you're doing is you're like doom scrolling in your mind. You have a conclusion, and now you need the data to back it up. So you conclude whatever it is, you can't do anything about it. And now you have to like find something to be afraid of, because even better is something that like you can't do anything about and that frightens you, right? So this is your mind pattern.
Yes.
Is it not a pattern of mind?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
That pattern of mind is infantile, right? You need to grow out of it.
Infantile in the sense,
That you'll
in
grow
the
out
sense
of
that
it.
it can't
You'll
take.
grow out of it. All right? You know how
How do you
when
grow out of
children
it?
children think in a certain way, right?
Yeah.
And so infantile thinking is thinking, believing your mind, when your mind is not only, you're not just believing it, you're selecting it. So your mind has 1,000 thoughts. But what your mind also does is says, okay, out of these 1,000 thoughts, let me pick the ones that will be frightening, A, and B, that I can't do anything about. And then I'm comfortable. Your mind's comfortable.
But what if I'm choosing it because I think few moments ago we discussed, right? That prepare for the worst. Isn't this what I'm doing right now?
No,
Preparing
no,
for the
no, no.
worst.
You're going chasing your tail, going around in circles. You're not preparing for anything. You're just sitting there wasting your life, worried about things that you said yourself you have no control over. And because if you did want to take control over them, you'd have to go to the gym, you'd have to start walking, you start maybe eat a little bit healthier or something like that. But you don't want any of that. You just want to be a passive, helpless victim.
What evolutionary advantage did this
There's no
have?
evolutionary advantage to that. That's a neurosis of the times. Only people who've grown up with privilege and who get paid too much have that neurosis. Because if you had to go out and work for your food, if you had to go out and hunt your food or plant your food and then water it and then dig it up at the harvest time and store it and all that stuff, you wouldn't have time for this nonsense. But don't worry, you'll outgrow it. You're going to outgrow it because it's totally maladaptive. And what it is just an elaborate excuse. Oh, I can't do anything because my mind stops me. Oh, I'm afraid because my mind scares me. Oh, I'm helpless because my mind says I'm helpless. You know, it's like, just you'll outgrow that. Hopefully sooner rather than later, because there's a lot of stuff to get done. You don't want to waste your life, my friend. You really don't want to waste your human life. And what you just described is a recipe for wasting a human life, the most precious thing there is in the cosmos. Name something more precious than a human life.
Nothing.
Okay, and how long does a
Because
human life last?
70, 80
Yeah,
years
70,
or
80, 90,
80.
maybe years, something like that, and then it's over. And you've already used up a quarter of yours. You don't waste
Yeah.
the neck. Don't go for the lazy way out, man. Your mind is like your mind wants you to. Your mind is giving you excuses. Oh, this won't work. Oh, I'm doomed. Oh, I can't do anything about this. No matter what it is, I can't do anything about it. So now I'll just stew in that sewer of stinking thinking. You ever heard of stinking thinking?
But why does it does so?
Because it gives you an out.
And I have cultivated that out.
Yeah,
I've
because
trained it
it's called
throughout
laziness.
my years.
It's called laziness and self-indulgence and being a little kid. It's like a kid that goes to a candy shop and they just walk by and they run in and they just start gobbling the candy. I mean, a little kid will do that, and we don't think there's anything. I mean, if it's a little kid, we say, okay, he's a little kid. But if an adult does that, we go, what the hell's the matter with you, man? So the mind will think of 1,000 reasons why not to do what you should be doing. That's why have you heard of this book called have you read the Sufi books?
Yeah.
Have you read The Commanding Self? You need to reread them, is what
No.
it sounds like.
Okay.
Yeah, because your commanding self, your egoic self, is trying to mess you up. So that's why sometimes we call a mind a piece of garbage. That's a lot of it, frankly, right there.
Okay, I have
If I have a fatalistic attitude, then I don't have to do anything. Yeah, so it's a new day. Come on, man.
Yeah, no. So I have an honest question here.
Oh, good.
You said it's
An honest
because
question.
of.
Yay! Go ahead.
Is it because of egoic? It is because of egoic self. How do you identify that it's because of egoic self, yourself?
Where else is it coming from?
From me, or
The Indian
from?
culture? Maybe the Indian culture?
No.
All right. Well, then where's it coming from?
It just comes. It comes as a thought.
Okay. Is it your thought, or is it the thought of the Indian subcontinent?
Kind of both.
Okay. Well, then there's a hint for you, isn't there? It can't be completely the Indian subcontinent because most of the CEOs in the America's most valuable companies are all Indian, and there's a lot of Indians on this side of the Atlantic or Pacific that are completely let's go, let's get something done. So I don't think you can blame the culture. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. Forget the blame. Just fix the problem. When you see stinking thinking, wad it up and throw it in the wastebasket and keep going.
Yes.
You remind me of when I was like 13 or so, and I was supposed to mow the lawn, and I'd be thinking, oh, the grass is too wet. Oh, the machine doesn't have gas. Oh, there's going to be a rock there, and it's going to throw a rock, and it's going to bust a window. Oh, the blades are too dull. Anything to keep from going out there and mowing the lawn. But sooner or later, I had to mow the lawn, right?
Yeah.
All right, sir?
Yes.
Question.
There was another question. So I was listening to Krishnamurti, where he was discussing about nature of time and space.
Yeah, that stuff's
And
kind
he
of
suggested-
abstract. I think the Sufi stuff would probably be better for you. the Sufi stuff or stuff that's
Yeah.
you got before you get to step 3, you got to take step 2. But go ahead, Krishnamurti, time and space.
Yeah. So he said, basically, to know the falseness of time and space, one needs to know the falseness of the measurement or the thought itself.
No, not necessarily. Not really, but
Yeah, one thing that I noticed because of that was then I can't use my understanding of thoughts to arrive at the falseness of
What
thought.
understanding of thoughts do you have? Where do your thoughts come from, really?
They don't come from somewhere. They
Oh,
just
really?
come.
Okay. And where do they go?
They go to the past in the sense the way a tape
Where's the past located? Where is
in
the
memory.
past?
In memory.
Okay, so your thoughts go into memory. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But the past still, like, I can't see past without present. Like, I can
You
only
can't
see
see
the past
past even
right
with
now.
present. You can't see the past.
Like, I can see.
I mean, frankly, you can't
fragments
even
of
see
it,
the present, but we're not going to go there. But okay. Okay, how long does it take? Okay, see this blue thing?
Yeah.
How long does it take for you to see it?
For me to see it.
Yeah, for the
maybe
nerves to
few
go through and so on and
nanoseconds.
so forth. About 200 milliseconds,
Yeah.
which is a very long time, depending on how you want to look at it. Okay, so Krishnamurti says things, all kinds of very wonderful sounding things, but they all come down to the same thing. Unless you're awake, you're going to be lost. That's basically all he says. He just says it in 1,000 different ways.
But
So when you're
doesn't
fully
that
awake,
even
there
Zen
is
also-
no space or time, right? And you're not preoccupied with thoughts. Thoughts are the last thing that you want, right? So he's not great at helping people take steps, beginning steps especially. I know people worship him in India, and that may be part of the problem. People worship him rather than say, hey, how do I get this level of understanding myself? The observer is the observed, so on and so forth. But go ahead. What's your question?
My question was essentially, I can't use thoughts to arrive the falseness of thoughts. That's not possible. So
Is
how
that-
can
no,
I
no, no, no,
arrive
no,
at the falseness of thoughts?
Okay. Krishnamurti has a way of speaking that sounds very, very wonderful. What is he saying there?
The falseness of thought that must be understood.
Right, but how are you going to get there if you can't use thought to get there?
By having no thoughts or by realizing the essence of thought that
By living,
their
by
content-
being the essence of thought, by Kensho, by Satori, he speaks from Satori, right? Like everybody just needs to get in line and achieve it, right? But if you can't get to thoughts using thoughts, according to Krishnamurti, and he has a point, then how else could you possibly get there? The only way to get there is to be wide awake. Wide awake. Beyond
But
thought,
isn't
beyond
that the
space,
case
beyond
with-
time. So he says all this thing, but he doesn't explain it to people. Do you see what I'm saying?
But I get that, but isn't that the case with Zen Buddhism as well? Even the conversation.
Yeah, with Zen, it
in
is the case.
conversation also,
It is
yeah.
the case with Zen, but you got to understand, before you get to Zen, you've already been through this amount, at least this amount of Buddhism. So Zen is like an advanced course, and it presumes that you have this under your belt. And not just this, the Heart Sutra, the Lankasavara Sutra, I think that's how it's pronounced. There's a bunch of sutras.
Since you brought that up, I had
Oh,
few
good.
questions.
Let's read some to folks.
This is from the four.
Strange sounds. Okay, what page are you on?
I am on some other page, but I had few questions from the Four Holy Truths.
All right. So you're at least as far as the Four Holy Truths, right? Because you don't want to skip ahead. You don't want to skip ahead in this book. All right, what page for the whole Four Holy Truths?
Page 277. So what I observed in this and next few pages are the way the three holy truths are defined or seen through different worlds.
All right, why don't you read the second paragraph to folks so they have an idea of what we're talking about?
Yeah. So it's on the second para on page 277, right?
Right.
What is in this world endurance, called holy truth of suffering, is in the world abundance, also called fear, or individual mortality, or disgusting, or what should be worked on, or change, or ensnaring enemy, or deceptive usurper,
Yeah, good.
or usurper, or hard to work with, or false discrimination, or possessor of power. What is called the holy truth of the accumulation of suffering is, in that world, abundance, called corruption, or ignorance, or great enemy, or sharp blade, or taste of destruction, or revenge, or not one's own thing, or bad guidance, or increasing darkness, or ruining goodness. Or is called the holy truth of the extinction of suffering, in that world abundance, or great meaning, or benefit, or goal of goals, or infinity, or what should be seen, or detachment from discrimination, or supreme pacification, or constant equanimity, or worthy of living together, or non-fabrication. What is called the holy truth of the path to extinction of suffering is, in that world called abundance, called able to burn up, or the highest class, or certitude, or unbreakable, or profound techniques, or emancipation, or not me nor base, or mastery, or essence of liberation, or capable of setting free. In that world abundance, there are 4 quadrillion such names to explain the 4 holy truths, to cause sentient beings to be harmonized and pacified according to their mentalities.
What is in this world endurance, called the holy truth of suffering, is in the world undefiled, also called regret, or dependency, or aggravation, or dwelling within the walls, or one flavor, or untruth, or living at home, or abode of deluded attachment, or false views, or innumerable. What is called the holy truth of accumulation of suffering is, in the world undefiled, also called no real thing, or only having words, or not pure, or place of birth, or grasping, or baseness, or increase, or heavy burden, or producer, or roughness. What is called the holy truth of the extinction of suffering is, in the world undefiled, also called incomparable, or thoroughly cleared, or remover of defilement, or supreme faculties, or harmony, or independence, or extinction of confusion, or most excellent, or the ultimate, or breaking the seal. What is called the holy truth of the path to the extinction of suffering is, in that world undefiled, called something indestructible, or part of appropriate means, or the basis of liberation, or reality of basic nature, of the blameless, or the most pure, or the boundary of all existence, or maintaining what is received complete, or producing the ultimate or pure discernment. In the world undefiled, there are 4 quadrillion such names to explain the 4 holy truths, to cause all sentient beings to be harmonized and pacified according to their mentalities. God, it's just so gorgeous. Okay, sir, what's the question?
My question is, this form of paragraphs keep going on, discussing various other
worlds,
world
right?
systems as well.
So we have the world
of
we have the world endurance, we have the world abundance, we have the world rich pleasure, we have a world called rarefied
inclusion. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
World called inclusion.
Okay, a world called inclusion. Okay, so yeah, in all these different worlds, they have different ways of saying it. 4 quadrillion different ways of iterating the 4 noble truths.
But that's the thing. Like, what are these world systems? Are they just the different perspectives from individuals?
Will anyone see the world that you live in truly?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Will anyone else ever see the world that you live in truly the way that you see it and experience it?
No, and that's what I believe is the world system is.
Okay, good. There you answered your own question. That's part of what it is. It's part of what it is. Are you living in the world abundance, or in the world undefiled, or in the world's endurance?
No.
So you're living in the world endurance, right? Yeah, like most people, you're living in the world endurance. And so now, I just pointed out one facet of the worlds, because every man is a universe unto himself, every woman also. The interior and the exterior life. But that's not all they're saying here. But that's enough to get you to the next step. Okay? Questions?
Yeah, I had a minor question.
So did I already answer your question about that? About the worlds?
No, it's not about the worlds.
No, but did I answer your question about the worlds?
I had no other questions about the worlds.
Okay. What about the multiverse? Have you read David Deutsch's Beginning of Infinity? Or Fabric of Reality?
I read small portion of it, but no, I haven't read. Really.
You really should read that. I mean, for a modern mind, it's kind of essential reading. Especially in your field. Okay, what about parallel universes?
I had few theories for me, and this may be.
It's interesting because in the Muslims also, in the Quran, excuse me, I'm sorry, I just need to insert this. In the Quran, they talk about Allah as Lord of the worlds, right? And so the notion that there's one world is, I think that's a particularly Christian notion. But I think it may be falling to the wayside. I don't know. And I'm not speaking necessarily to multiverses or parallel universes. That's not what I mean. I mean it in another way. And so every woman and man must ask themselves, well, how many universes are there? And answer that question to their satisfaction. Okay, now you can go. Sorry.
Yeah, like, I had few questions because I feel like there are billions of universes and...
Billions? We just talked about 4 quadrillion just for the noble truths.
I would say uncountable ones.
No, and quadrillion. Quadrillion, come on, man. How big is a quadrillion?
Sorry?
How big is a quadrillion?
Pretty big.
Look it up. Look it up.
1,000 times bigger than billion.
Is it? No, that's a
At least.
trillion. That's a trillion.
Oh, 1,000 times bigger than trillion.
Look it up. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Good. The audience would like to know too. A trillion here, a trillion there.
It's
Pretty
10.
soon you're talking about real money.
Quadrillion is 10 power 15. Yeah, it's 1,000 times trillion.
Okay, so 1,000
10 power
trillion.
12.
That's not the same as 1,000 billion. And it's not
Oh,
certainly
yeah,
not the same as
definitely.
uncountable. Open your mind, my friend. Okay, go on.
My reasoning behind, like, what I think is universe at every stage performs every action simultaneously. This performance of every different movement of particles leads to different universes. And this can also be the reason for quantum entanglement, where things can be transmitted faster than speed of light.
What's transmitted faster than the speed of light?
Not necessarily transmitted, honestly, it's just entangled.
It's kind of close. You know, it's all right, but you know, you need to study some more a bit about that.
But I had this question: if there is quantum entanglement, then
Well, wait a minute.
what
Let's
does
stay
it
with,
mean
stick with the
to-
Dharma. Let's stick with the Dharma. Make sure we've covered that. What was your question before you got on
My-
to? Was your question about how many worlds there were?
No, I think it was slightly different.
Because you know, frankly, if there's two universes, why wouldn't there be 2 quadrillion universes? From a human point of view, we think in terms of economy of energy and economy of this or that. But when you're talking about dream stuff, there's no such limit anymore. And I use dream stuff as a crude analogy. Okay, go ahead. What's your question?
The question was, what does it mean to have cause and effect when there are things like quantum entanglement? Can there ever be? Yeah.
I'm trying to decide whether that's a fruitful road to go down. Can there be cause and effect without time?
No.
Correct. Can there be a universe without a creator of the universe? Or an instigator of the universe?
It wouldn't matter.
What do you mean it wouldn't matter? It wouldn't matter to whom?
Like if, so again, I haven't woken up. So for me, it's like I live in this reality, in this universe.
Okay.
So universe certainly exists. It may have existed before I was born, but I wouldn't never know about it. So
Okay. When were you born? Oh, never mind. Okay. You think you were born,
yeah.
but you weren't. You think you will die, but you won't. Let's see how that. I don't know. I'm trying to think of how to make this constructive for you. So you asked about cause and effect and quantum entanglement and this and that and so on and so forth. And we can. Those are 2 levels of abstraction, right? One is physics, which is lovely. And there, it's very difficult to tease out cause and effect because of entanglement and because there's a lot of reasons. But even in classical, what is cause? I mean, so we could go down that road again, David Hume, etc. But would you end up basically with Parmenides or with Heraclitus? Parmenides says nothing changes in time because there is no time, along with Krishnamurti. Heraclitus says everything changes, along with the Taoists, right? Except for the Tao itself. The Tao is non-changing. So, I mean, you must answer these things for yourself. You must, if you're interested, it takes a lifetime to get any kind of, not just, I mean, we're not talking about certainty, we're talking about draw some conclusions that are based on something other than what the last YouTube said. You following me?
Yeah.
So
yes.
When you say cause and effect, that's a problem right there. When you say quantum mechanics, that's another problem right there, because it's not been unified. And then you talk about entanglement, and that's I don't know that you understand entanglement sufficiently for me to be able to answer these three, rich questions, admittedly, but that's more like a hobby compared in the path of seeking truth. That's more like a hobby. And everything scientific will be superseded, which is the exact opposite of the Dharma, where nothing is superseded ever. I mean, this truth that we knew, at the time of Jesus has not been updated. Right?
Yeah.
But you're going to have to, so if you want me to answer that question, you're going to have to formulate it a little bit better.
Okay.
What is karma in quantum mechanics? Woohoo! All right. Catch me in a different mood and we can go down that road. But today doesn't feel like today, because today is the day to be, all things are possible today.
The other question was, I feel like the word is not the thing, and it is easy to see that in the word tree. Like, word tree is not tree.
Okay, the world is not the thing. The world is not the thing. Is that what you're saying?
Not world. The word is not the thing.
The world is not the thing.
Word, not world.
Oh, the word.
Without L.
The word is not the
word
thing.
Is not.
Okay. The word is never the thing. That's true.
But what I have come to realize is there are a lot of things that I feel I know, but in reality it's just a concept.
Okay, so those are things you think you know, but it's just a concept. Have you considered the world of the things you don't know that you don't know? That universe.
I do want to, but this momentum is too huge. Like, it has reduced a lot over the last few months.
Okay, good.
But the momentum is so huge that I just don't see that I am assuming things that is just a thought. That's not what it is.
Correct.
Like, for example, I don't know whether this is okay to talk about. Like, when someone or I talk about God, I assume I know what or who God is. It's through all the media that I have been through. Like, I've thought about temples, churches, about God being the creator, about them helping everyone, etc. But these are just thoughts.
Correct.
The word God here is not God.
The word God is somewhat blasphemy. Is blasphemy, actually.
Yeah. So how do you tackle this? Like, this tendency to assume what is being talked about without knowing that I don't know what it is.
I could spout out some generality, but better. Give me an example.
Like, take, for example, the word God itself.
Well, that's kind of a big example because God, the signifier God, signals the incomparable, a unitary, a unity that subsumes all other constructs or differentiations or whatever you want. So let's not start with the word God, because the word God is the most problematic word there is. It's also synonymous with love and truth and beauty. I mean, those are, so it becomes it becomes impossible to talk about God in that way without going falling completely on your face.
Okay, then what about the word infinity?
All right, that might be a little bit better. But see, to get to the word infinity, we have to go through a billion, we have to go through a quadrillion, with trillion, then we have to go through a quadrillion, then we have to go through a billion quadrillions, or a trillion quadrillions, or a quadrillion quadrillions. And so for infinity, this book, let me show you, there's a chapter here called The Incalculable, page 905. And what I want you to do is pick a page at random in this chapter. Take a paragraph out of the I'll tell you what, why don't you just take a few lines on page 890.
Okay. 890.
Yeah, from the middle of the page.
Okay. That's a lot of numbers here. That squared is 10 to the power of 5634009209893920. That squared is 10 to the power of 11268018419747840. That squared is 10 to the power of.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that squared is 10 to the power of 22, 536, 036, 839, 495, 680. That squared is 10 to the power of 45, 072, 073, 678, 991, 360. That square to.
Okay, so let's do this. Why don't you read the first two paragraphs on page 889, and then include book 30, The Incalculable. All right. So read the first paragraph.
At that time, the enlightening being, Mind King, said to the Buddha, "World honored one, the Buddhas speak of incalculable, measureless, boundless, incomparable, innumerable, unaccountable, unthinkable, immeasurable, unspeakable, untold numbers. What are these?" The Buddha said, "It is good that you ask the Buddha, the truly enlightened one, in order to have the beings of the world penetrate the meaning of the numbers known to the Buddha. Listen carefully and think well about this. I will explain for you." Then the enlightening being, Mind King, willingly received the teaching.
Okay, good. Stop right there. Listen carefully and think well about this. I will explain for you. Then the enlightening being, Mind King, willingly received the teachings. And the teachings are on the next, I don't know what, 10 pages? Something like that?
Yeah.
And so you ask about infinity. And I'm showing you as directly as I can that in this text, they will teach you about that. But see, you can't do it with an unprepared mind. But they will prepare your mind for it. You see, so this chapter, the incalculable, is about your question, the infinity. And until your mind is properly prepared, you can't grok it. You just can't. You know, I don't know what to, how else to say it.
No, I don't think you can say anything about it.
Except that that question is answered, asked and answered in this magnificent text. And I would be cheating you if I said, okay, well, we can take a shortcut and we can just, go to Hilbert space or something like that, and you're going to understand it any better, because you won't, right? So read the chapter and then let's talk. It's not that far away, but what chapter was it? 30? So you need to get to that chapter and then ask me again, and then we'll have a place to go, right?
Yes.
All right, sir. Any other questions before we stop?
No.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay, so we talked about the games that minds play, that the mind will play on you, and it is playing.
Yes.
It plays it on all of us. It rationalizes it. It just doesn't want to go out and mow the lawn. That's what it comes down to, because the mind is inherently lazy. We're energy-consuming machines. And if we don't want, so we have to overcome our laziness. That's what growing up is, right? Let's see, what else did we talk about? We talked about how many worlds or universes there might be. We talked about the limits of concepts and constructs. We talked about Krishnamurti and how he speaks as if people are in Satori, or they should be in Satori. And you kind of need to be there in order to understand what he's saying. Because if you're beyond time and space and beyond thought, then you're basically in Satori or moksha or kensha or whatever you want to call it. And then we talked about other things, but good.
Yes.
Vaya con Dios. Take good care.